So I was thinking as Scott was talking today about change. I had dinner a couple of nights ago with, do you remember the football coach? So Brian Harson's the football coach now, then I think it was Chris Peterson, and before Chris Peterson there was Dan Hawkins. So Dan Hawkins still lives in town, and we were having dinner a couple of nights ago, and once a year, he would always take the football team to the swimming pool for practice. And I remember writing an article about it, but I said, why on earth did you take the football team to the swimming pool? You know, was it to have fun? He goes, it's hard to get people to change their habits. It's hard to get people to change their habits. So I take them to the swimming pool to kind of mix things up. And I thought it was interesting today as I looked in this room, as Scott was training, I thought to myself, how long have we been together? Do you roughly 6 months? And in that 6 months, do you know where you guys have sat every time I've come in this room? I think you normally sit right there, but I can't remember. But it's hard to change. It's hard to change, and it takes 27 days to change. So the topic today is motivate. And my motto is going to be, as we look at this character from Braveheart, I grabbed William Wallace. I could have grabbed Maximus from Gladiator. I could have grabbed Vince Lombardi. I could have grabbed anybody. But motivate says provide someone with a motive for doing something. What made William Wallace so good? Well, here's what made William Wallace. Look at all the people behind him. All the people behind him. Now, this was theatrics, obviously, but we have to believe that William Wallace, from the 3rd century, or the 17th century, I should say, his ability to lead people. But what I found is you can't motivate anyone. Well, now, wait a minute. Cody and Scott asked me to come in and train on motivating. You asked me today, what's your topic on? Motivate. And I started out saying you can't motivate anyone. You have to find out. So here's your first note. Notice I always give you notes for the New Testament. Your first note is you have to find out what motivates them. You can't motivate them, but you have to find out what motivates them. In this case, William Wallace found out what motivated a group of Scots. It was freedom from Longshanks. That's what motivated them. So real quick, I'm going to have you guys team up. I'm going to have you two team up. You two team up. I should mix you up, shouldn't I? No, that'd be out of my comfort zone. I don't like that. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to motivating your team? So just take a couple of minutes. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to motivating your team? Scott has a team of, let's see, Scott's a business owner, but as I look at his crew, he's got 3 salespeople himself. What's his biggest challenge? What's his biggest challenge? Now, I can give you a hint on this, but I'd rather you guys work together. What's your biggest challenge? Getting your team to see the same vision or to follow you. So let's take about 5 minutes on that and have that discussion. Good place to pause. All right, we're in the management series. This week's topic, or this month's topic, is motivation. My name is Dave, and I'm your host, and we've got a whole group of folks here today, and we're talking about how to motivate someone, and our biggest challenge as leaders is not necessarily the case of, hey, let's get her done. That's how I was taught. It's finding what motivates them. So we're going to go around the room real quick and ask some of the folks here, what's your biggest challenge when it comes to motivating your team? So I want you to be the spokesperson, believe it or not, for your team. What were some topics that came up? Hey, Dave, this is really a good class because here's my biggest challenge when it comes to motivating my team. Okay, yourself. Heck, I could barely get out of bed this morning, and I got people looking at me going, yeah, it's going to be 110 degrees this weekend. Or I always use the Jack Nicholson line from As Good as It Gets. Scott hears this all the time. Hey, I'm drowning here and you're telling me how warm the water is. I know the trucks need to be loaded. I'm just not in that big a hurry. So motivate yourself. That's a good one. Want to add one more on there?
Being able to communicate or express what you want.
Here I thought motivate yourself was the best one. That's a great one. Express what you want. Because remember, we've talked about your personality. Yours is, if I want to get it done right, who's got to do it? Because there's only one person that can do it right. Express what you want. Because the secret to great leadership, really that's our mission while we're here throughout the year, is getting others to see our vision and doing it not quite like we do, but that's great leaders. Because no matter how good a battler William Wallace is, he can't take on the army by himself. He's the best at what he does, but he's got to have their help. All right, Scott, how about in your group?
Well, I echoed express what you want. I think that's one of my challenges, so we can put another
Okay.
by that one. And then we also discussed changing, how would I say this, changing people who have been in the organization
Okay.
for a long time. They tend to be not as willing to change because it's different. So getting other people to change what they're doing.
I hate to use this analogy, teaching an old dog to do a new trick, or a veteran, or whatever it might be, and they might be young. Doesn't necessarily have to be dealing with age, but I had someone yesterday, I was training on the dress code. And the irony is this particular person probably needed the most help on the dress code, said to me, Dave, I've been doing it like this for 21 years, I'm not going to change. Well, I'm going to motivate you, right? I've got to find out what motivates them. Now, here's what ended up motivating them, was holding a mirror up. So if you want to change something, I guess I'm kind of talking out of two sides here, but if we look in the mirror, we see ourselves as one way. So the best way to lose weight, as I've studied with fitness folks, is not to look in the mirror, but it's to take a picture. Why do they always have you hold that newspaper and take a picture? Because a picture's worth how many words? 1,000. Because you guys have seen this before, right? Everybody make a circle in the room. Go ahead, you can do it. You can do it. Everybody make a circle like this. I want you to participate. Okay? Participate. And put that right here on your chin. Okay? That's not your chin. This is your chin. Okay? Because a picture is worth 1,000 words. If we see it, we believe it. For 21 years, this is how I've been doing it. You need to see a picture. What'd you come up with for your team? What's your biggest challenge? Okay, tell me more. To me, that would be trees and rivers and stuff. In your case, it's...
It would be that we're outside, but inside it's meet other people, social interactions.
Okay. Do you think you have an interesting dichotomy or challenge because of your role in the company? You yourself has a unique challenge. Just out of curiosity. In motive. Yeah, do you think if you looked at it, I said, hey, I want you to self-analyze yourself. And I'm not talking about one leg's longer than the others, or you got two different shoes that don't match, one's left and one's right. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, do you have a unique challenge to the company trying to motivate others? What would your unique challenge be? I'm holding up a mirror now.
I have one for me.
Okay, let me come to yours, let me get to his, and then we'll jump to yours.
Keeping them on task is the main challenge in that situation.
Okay. What do you think his unique challenge is? I'm not talking about his management skills, but just his role in the company. You guys all work together? Shh, it's a secret. No one knows. I don't work in the company, but I know.
We don't work together, but
Okay, but I bet they know.
I would say his last name means Fillmore.
Oh, shh. Don't tell anybody that he's related to the owner. You're the coach's son. So what happens to the coach's son? Two things. Either he gets to play more, why? Or what's coach always do to him? Because he's coach's son. Yells at him, he's harder on him. So you've got a really interesting dichotomy. You probably didn't know that before, that you're coach's son. Because what do you fight all the time? Look, just because my last name's that, things are. But that's part of perception is reality. Perception's reality, whatever that perception is. I know I probably shouldn't have said it because it was a secret, but now we all know. So how do we deal with that? Well, I found the best way is just say, hey, guess what? Because as you guys will see, in the absence of facts, we fill in the blanks. We fill in the blanks. What was yours?
I'm on the job.
Time on the job?
Everyone in my text has been there 2 to 10 times longer than I have.
So when you say that, is it I've been doing it 21 years, or what do you know? I've been here for 21 years.
He's been doing it longer.
Been doing it longer. Who are you to tell me? That's outstanding. I'm just going to put, what do you know? What do you know? And typically what I'll try to do, because I train all kinds of different, well, look what I'm training today. I've got the best shipping company in the world. I've got the best grocery store. I hope it's okay I call that. Best grocery store in the world. The best training center. The best video crew. And I have to look at, guess what runs into all your minds? Now I'm mind reading. I have ESPN. What's he know about shipping? How many times has he got on a forklift and wheeled a pallet around? Let me answer that. Never. What's he know about running Leap Fox? Nothing. Have you ever had to deal with a freezer being busted when it's 110 degrees? Never. Have you ever had to white balance a camera? Well, one time. I did it on the snow and it was a big mistake. But that being said, one thing I can work with is people. So I think it's best to say, look, I haven't been doing this as long as you have. However, and finish from there. So let's jump in, and it's a great transition to motivating using our disc. Now we've got to back up a little bit when we talk about personality styles. Personality styles. Because now we're going to motivate using the disc. And let me remind you how you communicate. 60% of your communication is body language. So remember when you talked about, well, how can I motivate others if I can't motivate myself? You're going to have to act as if, what? When you walk in the door. You want to be there. Because guess what everybody does? They got this antennae up, and when Scott comes to work today, it goes like this. Is it going to be a good day or a bad day? It's going to be, and guess what? Scott hasn't said a word, and we already determined. Now let's just pretend he got pulled over on the way to work. Let's just pretend he got a speeding ticket. Let's go through all the elements here, and guess who I think he's mad at when he walks in? Hey, Scott, ready for a great day? That's all he has to do, and guess what immediately I think? He's mad at me. So part of your battle is going to be, as we look at this, body language. I always say walk 10% faster, sit in the front of the class and ask questions. Act as if, and it's interesting, if you act as if, it just comes to fruition. 33% is tone and tempo. Well, I kind of, you want to get something done, you just do it yourself. You got to be careful about that because, again, they're watching your tone, they're watching your tempo. And the irony is, and Scott knows this, 7%'s the spoken word, so you don't really have to do a lot. Come on, let's wash your truck. Well, why do you want to wash my truck? It's perfect. Well, let's wash your trailer. My trailer's perfect. So as we look at those type of things, we really don't have to say anything to be great leaders. You've heard that before. Could be a sports analogy, business analogy. I don't know why people just follow him. I don't know why they just follow him. So let's talk a little bit about the challenge that you're faced with, being the dominant style. As Scott said, I'm dominant. Okay? 16% of your employees are dominant. 41% are influencers. And do you remember, well, I know Scott does, so I'm going to ask somebody a question that I know they know the answer to. Scott, what do influencers need to hear every single day?
I love you.
I love you. And for some of you in this room that are steady and compliant, just the thought of telling somebody you love them out loud it's killing you. Well, Dave, what if they think I really, what will HR say? And what if? What if you tell them you love them and their productivity goes through the roof because your mission is to get them to do the right thing when no one's looking? If you can get them to do the right thing when no one's looking, they'll say things like, Scott's the best boss that ever worked for me. Because now, as leaders, you can find out what they need. Because remember, the levels of leadership, the first one's a supervisor. If you're a supervisor, you find out if they came to work on time and if they didn't leave too late. I want you to be a mentor. A mentor allows them to see things they could never see before. See, I see things in you, greatness, that you don't see. Because you see yourself through that lens of, well, they've been doing it for 21 years. You know what they've been doing in that 21 years? They've been looking for a leader like you. But they don't want to tell anyone, but they've been looking for a leader like you. Someone that says, I'm going to go to training, I'm going to find out the two, because guess what kind of leaders they've had for 21 years? Well, good question, right? We don't have any idea. Steady. A lot of you are steady personalities in here. They need choices. So, Mr. Galloway, I'm going to have you come up to the front of the room. Scott was a plant today, I want you all to know. So, Scott, I'm going to have you kind of stand by me so they can hear at home here. So, Scott has redone the building, the sales building in here. And as he redid it, he put desks in all different kinds of places. Now, for us D's, we don't care. Hey, go get 2 sawhorses and a door, there's your desk. That's a good idea, isn't it? Saves all that stuff. But some of Scott's personalities are steadies, meaning they like choices. So here's a good example of a management tool to motivate. Scott, you changed the room around, and how did you handle your steady when it came to saying, you sit there, and you there, and I'm here?
Well,
You did it a little different. So share with the crew.
Well, with my steady, I said, now we're going to be making some changes in here to enhance.
I'll just hold it for you.
Okay, we're going to be making some changes to enhance our productivity. You can either sit here, here, or over there. Think about it and let me know what you want to do. Sometime today.
And how did that work for you?
Perfect?
Okay. What would you have picked that spot for that particular person?
No.
Okay, so think about that. Scott wouldn't have picked that particular spot for that person, and that would have made them uncomfortable because they're steady. And guess what they wouldn't have said? A single word. But guess what they would have been ruminating on all the time? Why did he move me? I'm out of my comfort zone and go along. I mean, these are just little things, but little things mean a lot. Let's go to our last one, our compliant. Our compliant, they need to know why. They need to know what the facts are, and they need to know why. So let's kind of bounce through here. For those of you that are saying, I've never seen this before, I'm going to put pictures up just so you can have a feel. So the dominant personality, I put Barbara Walters up here. I've also got Donald Trump. So I'm going to give you 3 options. You've got Barbara Walters, Donald Trump, and an eagle. So whichever one will help you remember This is the dominant personality. Their biggest fear is being taken advantage of. So you have to think of that when you're dealing with a dominant. Now, there's only 16% of these that work in your company, and most of the time they're your leaders. Oh, you mean I've got to deal with my leaders that way? Yeah, you motivate your leaders. Remember what I said? He's the best boss that ever worked for me. Because he's a D, and I say things like, hey, boss, I don't know about you. I don't want anybody taking advantage of me. That's why I put a wall around you so you win. See what my body language is even saying? What am I doing when my hands are up? Why do most people put their hands up? I surrender, boss. You win. Body, oh, remember that's 60% of communication. So remember this with dominance. What your mission's got to be, and I want you to write this down, they win. They win. Let's slide over to the influencer. It's about team, fun, and love. Now here's the hard part for all of you. You just said that. Tell me about your environment. What goes on in your environment? What do they do a lot in their environment? Chit-chat. Guess what eyes like to do? Say it again. Chit-chat. But that's their love language. Oh, great, Dave. What, am I supposed to let them chit-chat? No. Back to work. Back to work. Because the team needs it. Back to work. Versus, hey, what are you guys talking about? Get up there. That scares them to death because guess who they think doesn't love them? Well, Dave, what do you mean love? We don't have time for love here. We got 14 pallets. I was talking to a guy. You guys will get a kick out of this. There's a company, and you may work with them a little bit. They're called DOT Transportation. They haul food supplies all over America. And they have a forklift rodeo. So this particular guy from Burley is one of the best forklift drivers in the world. And I said, what do you do? And so he takes a pallet, and they put a basketball on the pallet, and he's got to drive it through here, and the basketball can't fall off. And I go, is the basketball up? Never. That's why he wins this thing. I go, how many trucks do you load in a day? He says he can load 8 semis in a day. And I said, what's the average person load? 4. What motivates him to be so good at what he does, people can't ignore him? Why on earth would a forklift driver get so good at driving a pallet with a basketball around? Here's what he told me. I want that week off of work that I get for winning the championship. Really? See, I can't motivate him to do, I can't go, come on, 8 trucks. But I found out what motivates him. It's that week off of work. So think about that with your eyes. They like to chit-chat. And somehow you have to act. I know you're not having fun with this, but you have to act interested. Act interested. So put that down. Hey, look, I may not be interested, but I have to act interested. Now we're getting to the people you were talking about that have been doing it for 21 years and they don't want to be bothered. Steady personality. You never know what they're thinking. Do you know what this lady's name is? Martha Stewart. I never know what Martha Stewart. Now somebody had to be smart. She's thinking she doesn't want to go back to prison again. Okay, you got me. But I never know what Martha Stewart says. Even when I watch her TV, well, we're going to take the yellow and we mix it with the blue, and she doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. So it's important when we coach Martha Stewart, we watch our tone and tempo. Remember that 33% I was talking to you about? When we talk to Martha Stewart, we can't yell at Martha because it terrifies her. So those of you in this room that are dominant with your steadies, if you say, what is going on? Why can't we get that fixed? They'll shut down and it terrifies them. So you have to think about that, and you have, as Scott pointed out so well, you have to give them choices. 3 choices, let them think about it, and then they'll make the choice. Don't back them into a corner. Here's our compliant. Now you probably remember the compliant. I got one person in the room that remembers Nurse. What was her name? Nurse Ratched. Jack Nicholson, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. If you haven't seen it, rent it. It's great. They filmed it in Pendleton. Not that that makes it great, but whenever I go through Pendleton, I go, that's where they shot Cuckoo's Nest. Nurse Ratched, look at her dress here. Everything is by the book. It's perfect. And if I come in and tell Nurse Ratched, hey, Nurse Ratched, it's October, we're wearing pink. Susan B. Komen month. What's Nurse Ratched going to say to me? My steady, I put you on the spot. What's Nurse Ratched going to say to me?
No thanks.
And she won't say no thanks. No, we don't do that here. That's breaking the rules. So I have to explain to Nurse Ratched, and I really don't have to explain. I have to put it out in written form so we can see it. So people work harder for people who are like them. So if you want to finish that sentence, people work harder for people who are like them. So what do you all have to be? Chameleons. Really, Dave? I have to be a high D, right? Because what, now you're starting to, do you have a team now that you, didn't somebody add a person? I thought they were getting ready to add a person, or no? You just manage yourself? One person. Now is that one person like you? Really? Are you letting him, is it him or her? Are you letting her do stuff, or are you still, you know, if you need it done right, I need to do it. I barely hear you today.
I let her do her thing. She does
Good. Yeah. But not great? Okay. No, there we go. Play that back again. She could be. Are you afraid you'll hurt her feelings? Because she's not going to watch this video. What made you say she could? Because I saw you look at this part of your brain. She could be great if. Finish that sentence.
if she let go of more stuff.
Huh. Wow. So here's a great saying. Attitude reflects leadership. So if you want her to let go of more stuff, what do you have to do? Yeah, but I'm not doing that, Dave. I'm the leader. I'm the leader. So it's good stuff to think. If you want it from your workers, you have to do it yourself. So here's your fill in the blank. D's are motivated by winning in contests. Okay? I was really good at sales when people would yell at me and say, come on, Dave. The guy across the street's kicking. But remember, I was only 16% of the room. See, I didn't care about the week off. I just cared about the scoreboard. So identify who the D's are in your room. Did you hear what Scott said that he wrote on the corner of his chalkboard? You remember the number he was talking about when he came up here today? You weren't listening. You were. What did he say? 50,000. See, Scott's motivated by that. Not for any particular reason, because for him it's just more the thrill of the kill or the game. 50,000. I'm going to hit that number. Well, Scott, does that mean you're getting a new car? Are you going on a trip? No. I won. I won. I won. So make sure that you motivate your D's how they want to be motivated. Scoreboard, win, that type of stuff. Your I's are motivated by fun. Parties. Well, Dave, we can't have a party all the time. Okay, how about this? Just tell them you love them. Well, Dave, do I have to walk up and hug them? Do I have to do that? No, it sounds like something like this. My name's Dave. What's yours, sir?
Jared.
Jared, I love what you're doing out there. I love what you're doing out there. It was interesting with Jared's personality. He has my dream truck. When it rolled in today, I was like, oh. And then I saw Jared get out, and I'm like, that guy's the luckiest guy in the world. However, his personality's not so much an I, because if I would have said to an I, oh, you want to drive it? It's this. You're like, it's my truck. When'd you get it? 3 years ago. Spick and span, clean. You just be quiet and don't talk to me about my truck. That's okay. I have to recognize that. So what don't we talk about? At least in this environment. But somebody else who has a red truck and it has personalized license plates and it's got step sides and all this kind of stuff, what do they want me to tell them about their truck? I love, not how pretty it is. Let me hear you say it. It's probably going to kill you. I love your truck. So there's other ways to tell these people that you love them, but if it's not about fun, and let me add one other thing for the eyes, team. So one thing you can share with your team on the environment when they're What was that you said they always do? Chit-chat. You're letting the team down if you're chit-chatting. It's a lot different than one more chit-chat, you're gone. You're letting the team down if you chit-chat. So focus on the team with chit-chat. And of course, the C's are motivated by logic. Logic. Now, sometimes to me it's not logical that you want all the rules and regulations, but they need to know the rules and they need to know why. Now, share with me the story when you send a technician out or you need a technician. Share the verbiage that you used to use. What did you used to say? Because remember, technicians are typically C. They're compliant. They follow the rules. They have the manuals. They do everything. And what did you used to say when you needed a technician?
I need you to.
Yeah, go fix it. You fix it. I need you to. Now what do you say?
Haven't yet, but it will become, a tech is needed or we need.
Okay. A tech is needed because you are the smartest people in the world. Because techs have to be right. So make sure you put there, they have to be right. Conversely, the dominants have to win. So Scott needs 50,001. 49,000, but 50,001, he wins. A tech has to be right because their biggest fear is criticism. So here's how you motivate a technician is not with criticism. Why did you fix that? That way is criticism. This is how it sounds. You are the greatest technician that we have on this staff. You're the greatest technician on the staff. Now, I'm not using your world, but I'm going to use, real quick, you must have had a strategy for putting gasoline in that diesel engine. Then it allows them to think, I put gas in the diesel. It allows them to discover, follow the rules that they were wrong. But if I said to you, why did you put gas in that diesel tank? Immediately they hear criticism. So we have to make sure that we first tell our C's, here's what you do and here's what's really good. How come? Because I'm sure you had a reason for doing it that way. How come you did it that way? So now here's your exercise. I want you to go through. Now you're only going to have, because you just have one person on your staff, right? So let's just go ahead and we'll do the exercise. What's her name? Tracy. What's her position? Customer service. What's her personality style? I get the impression it's similar to yours. Steady. Okay. This didn't work. Whatever motivation style that, you know, let's use the example. I'm trying to get her to let go. Fair statement. Telling her, let go, or whatever it is you said to her, that didn't work. I will try this. So in Tracy's case, I will try giving her how many choices? 3 choices. So it could be, Tracy, what would be a job that she could maybe hand off?
Forward air.
Say again?
Forward air.
Forward air. Tracy, you can hand forward air off to Scott, Dave, or Tim. I'm going to let you think about it. But when I come back, tell me who you've decided. And I want you to use the word, write this down for steadies, enhance. It's going to enhance what we're doing. Because remember, steady's biggest fear is change. So we're not going to change, we're going to enhance. So go ahead individually. You may have more people. So Scott, you're going to put in here, it would say Mitch, Jim, Cody. Go all right down the list and do that. So go ahead. Will you flip that light on for me, sir? So go in here, and if you're at home, I want you to do the same thing, or in your office, I want you to put the name, the position, and then you're going to guess what their personality style is. Are they dominant? Are they really loud and they're like, I got to win? Are they influencer? Hey, let's chit-chat. How you doing? Don't you want to talk? You must be mad at me. Are they steady? Are they compliant? Do they follow the rules? Look into the camera. Plenty of headroom, I hope. Follow that. Follow the rules and go from here. You're going to have to determine that. Then the next thing I want you to put is, this didn't work. So the example would be chit-chat. yelling at them saying, get your butts back to work, didn't work. Here's what I'm going to try. I'm going to try. Guys, I love your camaraderie. The team needs you to get back to work. Get back to work. Let's go. Let's go do it. Let's think about your guys, the technicians. I'm just going to use one of them. First name? Bob. Position? Tech. Personality? We're just going to say he's compliant because he's a technician. Follows the rule. This didn't work. Bob, things are going to be different now that I'm here. You probably didn't say it like that, but this is what we're going to try. Bob, there's nobody better at doing, what's Bob's skill set?
Printer repair.
Bob, nobody can fix printers better than you. I'm going to use Scott's words now. You must have a strategy. You must have a reason for letting the queue get so full. What is that? He didn't realize the queue was getting full. Now he gets to discover, and guess what he never heard you do? Criticize him. Hey, Bob, there's 15 jobs stacked up. What are you doing? Look, I've been here a long time, Sonny. I don't need you telling me what to do. You've probably never been called Sonny before. All right, so let's go ahead. This is a good place to pause. At home, I want you to make sure you complete this. And here in the building, let's work 5-10 minutes. Spend some time on this. This is your takeaway. In the first element, we talk about using DISC to help people be motivated. All right, we welcome you back. We're just wrapping up the tail end of some version of your homework. Remember, 90% of what you don't write down, you'll forget. So the secret is to write it down. So I'm just going to check with you guys on the number one person on your list and the one thing you're going to try, because the hardest part is when you get done with the training today. This happens to be a Friday here. I'm not sure when you're watching this, but here it's a Friday. Probably a good chance you're going to forget everything that we talked about. So you got to take an immediate action step right away. So, Trent, do you mind, what was the number one person that you wrote down on the top of your list?
Hayden.
Hayden. What had you tried with Hayden? And remind me real quick, what's his personality type? Just guessing.
He's I would say an I.
So influencer. And just a reminder, influencer would be some form of Jimmy Fallon. Or if you need a bird, it's a parrot. And think of a parrot. They have multicolors, and they like to do what? What do parrots do? It's not a trick question. They talk. Parrots talk. So what have you tried to do with him?
Talk with him more. He likes to know he's being heard, and he likes to be told he's doing a great job all the time.
Okay. So number one is eyes need a pat on the back. Now, the great thing about eyes, you can pat them on the back, and you can also do what with them while you're patting them on the back? Okay. I knew I'd get you fired up. When it comes to kicking in the butt, look out here, okay? Now, remember this, though. The carrot can only get so big, and once you use the hammer or the boot, it's no longer effective. Because once you get hit with the hammer, you go, well, I know what that's like. So you only get one shot with the hammer, so it's got to really count in terms of, I never had to do that again. So what are you going to start doing? Pat on the back. But how are you going to help to stop the chit-chat?
Well, it's kind of easy with him. He likes to enjoy the fruits of his labor.
Okay?
So it's a little bit easier.
So the fruits of the labor, does that mean like you guys are shipping oranges now, or tell me more?
Just that when he sees that what he's doing is paying off, that he's actually doing a good job, that what I'm teaching him is, giving him the result that he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of all he needs is motivation. Then he's
And what's the number one motivation he needs, the number one word? What do you have to tell him that you're going to hate to tell him?
I love you.
Okay? That's going to be the hardest thing. I love you. That probably won't work. I love you. I love you, sort of. That guy told me, hey, that didn't work. That me. I love how hard you work for this company. Nobody works harder than you. Back to work. Who was the name you put down? Alan. Alan's personality is S. What didn't work? I guess I don't. A kick in the butt didn't work. S's, if there's any sort of friction or any sort of, write this down, confrontation, they do this. Confrontation, they do this. Now they might look at you and go, and you might think if they're nodding their head, they're listening. Okay? This means no. It's like I've got a dog that sits in the back of my window and it does this. It's a bobblehead. Doesn't mean yes, it just means it doesn't. So now you're going to try.
I'm working on it.
Okay?
Ask a little more questions as it suggests.
Okay, I'm just going to hold up a number. And for the camera, it's 3. What do you have to give him? 3 choices. So give him 3 choices. Remember the exercise Scott did. You can be here, here, or here.
So freedom within confined space.
Absolutely. And it allows them, because they want to give you the right answer. Because remember, they're an S and they're a technician. So think that through. Now the hard part for all of you in here is you manage. Dave, I don't have time to do all this. If you want to be William Wallace and you want to be Maximus or whoever it is that was the greatest leader to you, you're going to have to do the little things. The little things. Because to be a great leader is not being the one that yells the loudest. It's actually the one that talks the softest. The louder they get, the softer I get. Who was the individual you wrote? Ben. And I could tell just how you said Ben. Ben! Personality type. An S. So steady. And that butt kicking works really well with them. At least in your mind it does, right? So what have you tried?
Not a whole lot with them.
Okay. And you know what? That's not unusual. I haven't really tried anything. Hey, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. And I just go home and go, Ben, he could be so much. He's got a ton of potential. Ben's got a ton of, if he just cared, what are you going to try with Ben now?
Showing him instead of just doing it.
Okay. So it's not just showing, though, too. It's also showing him a couple of different ways of doing it. Okay. Because they're stubborn. Write that down. S's are stubborn. Because if you show him, he's going to say, what way's better, his way or your way? Now, he's not going to tell you that, but he's stubborn. So I think I would approach it this way is you can move the pallet in this way, you can move it in this way, or this is another way that I like to do that typically works the best for me. Which one do you think would work best for you? Notice how I'm moving back. Now I am just using a chair as an analogy, but look at the difference versus, let me show you how I want this done. Put this here, put it in here, slide that there, and put that there. All right, get her done. I showed him how I wanted it done, but in his language, well, I don't like that there. I've been doing this for 21 years. What's he know? Did you do it the way I wanted? So take that time. And what's going to be your biggest challenge? In your mind, it's already done. So yours is going to be slow down. Slow down. All right, let's take a look as we go and move on to our next segment. I put these shoes up. I think I shared with you yesterday, I did a training on dress code. Training on dress code. These were technicians. The bottom of your feet are 17 times dirtier than a toilet seat. Dave, why are you telling me that? Because when I coach technicians, the number one thing they need to have is clean shoes. Clean shoes, because guess what customers look at? First they look at you, then they work their way down, and if they see dirty shoes, guess what they don't want to have anymore? You in their building. You in their building. Again, little things mean a lot. This particular person I was talking to had shoes that looked just like this. Nice slacks, nice shirt, everything fit but the shoes. I said, you know, probably the only thing I could see to go from good to great is the shoes. Got done? What's your takeaway? Nothing. What about the shoes? Look, you don't know how hard I work. You're right. I don't know how hard you work. Because remember, I don't fix machines, I fix people. This class today was a waste of time for me. That's what he said. Waste of time for me. Now, I was certainly frustrated because their manager didn't inspect what he expected. Didn't inspect what he expected. Scott has a team that makes calls. He can't just listen to the calls from this side. He's got to listen in on the back side. He's got to listen because you have to inspect what you expect. Because remember, what kind of work do you do? Quality-wise. Can't believe you're even asking me that. It's the best damn... And so what do you expect everybody else to do? So you've got to inspect. So it doesn't do me any good when the guy says, hey, teach them about dress code, because back to what we talked about, attitude is reflected by leadership. If you're going to let go, or if you expect them to let go, well, what do you have to do? And I know this one's kind of a bummer, right? Positive attitude. Dave, I can't have a positive attitude. You don't know all the pressure. You're right, I don't know all the pressure. But I do know when you walk in the room, your technicians determine what kind of day they're going to have. Uh-oh. Why couldn't you come to the afternoon class? Did something happen bad? Is there something wrong? Did I do something wrong? I mean, that's all. No, I'm leaving early, or you got stuff going. But guess what I do? In the absence of facts, I fill in the blanks. So I want you to look at what is your attitude. So how can I motivate my team? Remember, you can't motivate them, but you have to find what motivates them. So the best motivator for your team is clear expectations. Clear expectations. And most of us don't do this. And some of you were here when I did the donut story. But there's what I want to tell them. So what I want to tell them is, remind me the name of your technician? Alan. So what I want to tell Alan is what? So what is it we need him to do? Pick up the pace, fix more. So what is it you want to tell Alan? Okay, so what I want to tell Alan is to pick up the pace. What I told him, now you guys may have to edit this, what I really said was get off your ass. That's what I really said. See, remember what I wanted to tell him was to pick up the pace. What I really said, what they heard me say. Guess what he heard me say? Not doing a good job. And guess what he told other people that you said? He's getting fired. Isn't that interesting? Remember, what is it you wanted to tell him? No. You told me pick up the pace. Guess what he told others you told him? He's going to get fired. So you have to really focus when you're done with your meeting. In this case, Alan, play back what I just told you. Oh, all of our training now is starting to come together. Because if he heard you, well, what I'm hearing you say is, if I don't get off my ass, I'm going to get fired. Alan, I made a mistake. I didn't clarify what I wanted to say. Alan, nobody works faster than you as a technician. You're the best. I'm confused as, and I'm sure you have a reason why you keep the queue always at 10, 11, 12. How come you have so many stacked up? We need to figure out a way that we can keep that down to 1 or 2. Alan, play back what I just said. And you constantly have to have him play back until he says to you, I need to pick up the pace. Because guess what you might have said? Guess what you might have said? Get off your ass. You might have said that. You didn't know. Story I shared with you is when I started Bob FM. Donuts every Thursday. Claudia tells me, it's Healthy Heart Month. Dave, would you serve vegetables? What I wanted to tell him is I'm trying to please my wife. What I told him, and I said, no more donut Thursday. Guess what they heard me say? I'm cheap. Guess what they told others? We're going out of business Donuts, then what? And I kind of chuckle about it, but that's the truth. So I really want you to focus on this, what you want to tell. So after you walk away from here, last thing I want you to do is, was it Ben? What was the guy's name you're going to talk to?
No, Aiden.
Aiden. Aiden, I love you. Now get going. What you want to tell Aiden is cut down the chit chat. That's what you want to tell him. You need to make sure that he tells others it's to enhance the team by cutting down the chit chat. All right? So in the absence of facts, we tend to fill in the blanks. If you don't have a clear expectation, what was your guys' name? Was it Ben? If you don't give Ben a clear expectation, because remember I said, what have you tried? And you go, nothing really. He fills in the blanks of his job description. He decides what his job, you guys probably do that a little bit, right? Well, I don't really have a job description, so my mission is get her done. Kind of like for us today. Hey, I wanted the camera over here, but I'll make it work here. We just kind of fill in the blank. Hey, I don't want to wear a headset. I want a stick mic. Well, I'll use this and I'll make it a stick mic. Job description. And you need to check in with your team daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly expectations. Well, I'm getting my annual evaluation, and most of us don't get those. And usually, hey, you're doing a good job. Here, just sign here. I got to do this. Monthly, quarterly, and annual evaluations. So I need to know what your daily expectations are. My daily expectations are we can have chit-chat for 6 minutes. My daily expectations are each day you give up one task that you normally would do. My expectations are that you get one extra job done that you didn't think you could do. What happens if you exceed expectations? So if Aiden exceeds expectation, what happens to him? Well, let me play back what I heard you say. He likes the fruits of his labor. Do you think he likes that, or have you asked him? Now, you probably have asked him, but remember, eyes are fearful that you don't love him, so he might mislead you because he wants you to love him. He'll do anything for you to love him. Scott has somebody that works here that wants to please Scott all the time. He might think, hey, they get really excited when they please me, or they like the fruits of their hard work. But we have to ask them, hey, what motivates you? Then we also have to find out what happens if you don't reach expectations. Now, typically what I do is I tell them this up front. If you exceed expectations, this is what's going to happen. If you don't, first thing we're going to do is verbal, second's a written, and the third is it's taken out of my hands. I never threaten people with, you're going to lose your job. I just say the third is it's taken out of my hands. Now, why do you think I use that strategy? Number one, if you're late for work, which I know you'll never be, you're going to get a verbal from me. Don't be late for work again, or you're going to get a written work. Number two is you get a written note. It's going to go in your file. Number three is it's taken out of my hands. Why would I tell you it's taken out of my hands? Could. And what do I want you to think in your mind? Okay? I don't really care, but I want, what I mean is not really care, but I want you to be, what's that mean? What's that mean? I don't know, but it's taken out of my hands. See, I'm not threatening you. I'm not threatening you, but I'm allowing you, in the absence of facts, to do what? And probably guess what they're thinking? I'm going to get fired. But I don't want to threaten. That's back to that hammer. If I hit you with the hammer once, it's no good anymore. And the carrot can only get so big. I got my daughter passes for Music Fest. And she got 2 to go into this cool zone, tent, whatever. I get them for her every year. She goes, Dad, can I get 2 more of them? See, the carrot can only get so big, right? So I have to manage her expectations. All right? So here's my action steps. These could be the most important. Number 1 is, how do you want to be managed? How do you want to be managed? And let me ask you that question. If you haven't asked each and every person on your team, how do you want to be managed? Well, how on earth are you going to be successful? Now, here's what we've taught. Well, if we ask them how they want to be managed, they're going to say, just leave me alone. We need to find out how they want to be managed because they know in their mind, C's are going to tell you, I need a clear job description. S's are going to tell you, I need choices and space. I's are going to say things like, well, can we have a work party every now and then? Scott, I think you've done that a couple times. Haven't you taken your team to Big Al's or done something like that? Occasionally it's okay to mix it up, but if you have all C's and S's, guess what? They don't want to go to Big Al's. It makes them uncomfortable because they got to talk to people. Are expectations clearly outlined in writing or just in your head? Oh. Well, yeah, they're in my head. They should know. They should know what I want. Oh. Shoot. What happens when they succeed? Because remember, the C's want to know if I speed up productivity, what's going to happen? If I cut down the chit-chat, what's going to happen? What is it you need your guy to do, Ben?
Secure freight properly.
Okay. If I secure freight properly, what's going to happen? If I give up stuff, what's going to happen? They want to know what's going to happen. We're humans. If the dog goes and fetches the Frisbee, what's he want? Now, some dogs want a Norm Nugget. Some dogs want to be petted. Some just want you to throw the Frisbee again. But you've got to find out. And here's what we really need to find out. What happens when they fall short, or what is your exit plan for them? Because the worst time to think of it is when it comes out of your mouth. The worst time to think of it's when it comes, well, we need to let Billy go. What do? We'll call HR. HR goes, well, have you documented? Have you done that? Well, no, but Billy, sorry. You know in your gut who's a fit and who's not a fit. We tend to give them a little extra time. That's just human nature. We want to help people, even though in our gut we go, whoops. Now let me tell you something. When it comes to exit plans, a lot of people say, I hate to let people go. Let me share this with you. When you get where you start liking to let people go, then it's time to get a different job. We all hate to let people go. But for the good of our company, we need to have an exit plan. And we shouldn't make it up as we go. But here's what I would do. I would really underline this one piece because I'm hitting you with a lot of stuff now. But I want you to ask the question, how do you want to be managed? That'd be a great action step for you guys in this room today when you get back to your office. Hey, Ben, I know you probably wonder what this training's all about, or you probably could care less. How do you want to be managed? So here's and I'm going to have to kind of keep your exercises because this class is shortened. So here's what you're going to do. You already have the name of your people. So just put the names back in. Put their job description. And what I mean by job description is, yes, they have one, or no, they don't. And this is a written job description which is clearly defined. Your expectations are this, this, and this. Here's your budget. Here's how I expect loads to be secured. If they aren't secured, this happens. If they are, this will happen. Now I want you to grade them. Are they an A employee, are they a B employee, or a C employee? A, B, or C. Now nobody's going to see this but you. But you need to grade your employee, A, B, or C. Now notice I didn't put D's or F's. Okay? They shouldn't be on your team, so I just want you to stick A or B. And then I want you to put, they're a B with an arrow up, a B with an arrow down, or neutral. So they're going to be A, B, or C, arrow up, arrow down, or neutral. What's your action step for them? What is your action step? What's going to happen? So Scott, just give me a generic name. So we won't, just because we're on the camera, just give Buck, okay? So we're going to use Buck. What do they do for you?
Buck is a technician.
Okay, Buck is a technician, fixes computers. Is Buck an A employee, B employee, or a C employee?
B.
B is the arrow up or down or neutral? Neutral. Your mission is to get the arrow to do what?
Go up.
One or the other. Okay, like I say, love or hate me, you're never going to forget me, but we need to get them to do something. because we can't have neutral employees. What's your action step?
I'm going to give Buck 3 different options on how to increase his productivity, so 3 different productivity plans, and have him choose the one he likes the best.
Okay? And then the caveat would be, and when productivity goes up, here's what we're going to do. However, what if he chooses not to take one of those? Then you'll have to determine what that is. So let's go ahead and pause the camera here. This is a good time to pause it. Take about 4 minutes on this. Just do 1 or 2, but I would like you to finish this. This could be the most important thing you do. Name, their job description. Are they an A, B, or C employee? Is the arrow going up or down? And then the action step. In the case of Buck, I'm going to give him 3 choices on how we're going to increase productivity. Here's what's going to happen when we do increase productivity. Here's what's going to happen if he chooses not to. Because, Scott, you're going to have to tell him both of those things. All right, we welcome you back. As we come back, one of the first questions, there's a great question, is why are we doing the A, B, and C? Why is it? One of the things I want you to think about, and this is the hardest piece, is C players won't work for A managers. C players won't work for A managers. Also, C managers won't hire A players. They won't do that because C managers don't want to surround themselves with people that are better than them. So here's what comes up is the question, what if we have a C and they're going down? Do we let them go? I know what I would tell you, but I don't know what your company policy is. But Scott, what I want you to do is swing that pendulum one way or the other. And when we say swing the pendulum, C's have been doing the same thing for 21 years, meaning they've got about a year's worth of experience because they've been doing the same thing over and over. And that's also called insanity. Same thing over and over and expecting different expectations. You're going to have to do something to swing that pendulum. The easiest way, Scott, is to start managing them with expectations. That's what I do. So if I come in and do a turnaround, number 1 is I start training once in the morning, once in the afternoon, because they don't like to be held accountable. So with C's, now I'm not talking about compliance, so don't confuse C with compliant. I'm talking about the letter grade, A, B, and C. Some version, I'm either going to manage them up or I'm going to manage them out. And the best way to do that's with expectations. So let's use you for an example. I expect $30,000 this month, $33,000, and $34,000. If you hit the month, here's what I'm going to give you. If you don't hit the month, you're going to get a verbal. Next month's $33,000. Typically, they'll start going to Kinko's and working on copies of their resume, if that's what you want to do. Here's our biggest fear, right? Well, what if they leave me right now? I'm not ready. Here's what I want to tell you is you need to have your employees that you don't want leave on your terms, not their terms. It's supposed to be a motivational class, right? You want them to leave on your terms, not their terms. And here's their terms. Hey, it's been fun. Where do I get my check? Your terms are, hey, it's been fun. You've been outstanding. If you need me to give you a good reference or resource, absolutely I will. Here's a box. Well, Dave, that's kind of brutal. Well, that's part of the reality, right? Because if we can manage get all of our B players bumping to A players and our A players going to A plus players, we'll have a company that can't be stopped. This particular picture was taken just a couple of weeks ago. This is my dad and his tractor. My dad and his tractor. I put something on Facebook. I said, nice wheels, Dad. Of course, my dad's not on Facebook, but that's why I did it. Do you motivate like your parents did? Or do? Guess how just looking at my dad, guess how he motivated me? Any guesses? Say again? In real soft like that? They called me DJ because we're both, DJ, go out and take the tractor and do that. Yeah. So guess what I learned? Guess how I manage my kids? Yeah, and guess how I find I manage my workers? Because who was the best teacher in the world? Guess how my dad's dad managed him? Take a guess. He yelled at him. So finally one day I had somebody say, hey Dave, your way's not always the right way. It was an employee. It took a lot of guts for him. I go, my way's not the right way? So it was kind of my moment where I said, I've got to figure out a new way to find ways to motivate people. So I love my dad to death, but I kind of need to move on and I need to start listening for what's not being said. Listen for what's not being said. Some of you that have joined us with training before have seen this. This is the Japanese symbol, how to listen. Obviously, the ear is an important part. Listen with your ears, but also you have to listen with your eyes. And here's the biggest part, with your heart. Listen to what's not being said. What did I hear you say when I asked, what's the gal's name that works with you? Tracy. She's good. Now, I could have just let that go, right? But what was not being said? How she can become not better, great. I've got to listen for what's not being said. Just like Scott, well, what do you do with your C players? What am I hearing? Is it just a question to ask a question? Or, Scott, you must be asking me that for a reason. You probably don't have any C players. But we've got to listen to what our people are saying. Just like your buddy. I'm calling your buddy now, because guess what he wants to be? Aiden, guess what he wants to be? Hey, we're going to go out and have a beer tonight? Hey, what? No, we don't. It kills him. Now, this isn't saying go out and have a soda, go out and have dinner. I'm not telling you to do that, but we've got to listen. Why is he asking me if we want to do that? Listen for what's not being said. All right? What is my team telling me? So I want you to fill in these blanks for each person. I'm really good at, so let's just kind of go around the room. Scott, what are you really good at when it comes to leading? Scott is. He's good at making quick decisions. He can see the future. So he's really good at making quick decisions. My team, they wish I wouldn't, let's use Cody. Cody wishes you wouldn't what?
Make so quick decisions.
Okay, could be. Let me share what she wishes you'd do. Follow the schedule. Oh, Dave, I can't believe you're telling me that. So you're going to have to fill this in. So Scott's really good at making quick decisions. Cody wishes that I wouldn't make up my own schedule in my head. I would be a great leader if, here's mine, I would be a great coach and leader if I wouldn't focus so much on taking stuff personal. Meaning, everybody learns it a different way, but hey, you didn't participate. I did something wrong. Hey, you didn't smile. What did I do wrong? Hey, you didn't talk about your truck. You didn't look at me. What did I do wrong? I would be a better teacher if I just focused on everybody wants to learn at different rates, want to do different things, but that's what I have to work on. So I want you to take, this will be, and Scott, remind me, we're done at 9. Do they leave at 9 or do they have a half hour to work through stuff, or are you guys out the door at 9? Okay. So this will be one of your, quote, take-homes. But I want you to think about this. So I'm going to check in with you guys real quick. I'm just going to walk to the back corner, the pride of Winco. Where's your hometown? Boise? Is that where you grew up? Where'd you go to high school?
Fulda.
Where at?
Fulda.
Fulta? Is that in Idaho? Oh, okay. What state is that in?
Germany.
Oh, Germany. Okay. So is Germany your hometown, or you kind of bounce back and forth?
I was
Born here, then came? Okay. Because I was like, Fulta, I think we played them my senior year, but obviously we didn't. Okay. What are you really good at?
project organizations.
You seem to me like you're a detail guy. Okay, so you're great at details. You'd be a great leader. When I say a great leader, you would be William Wallace. You're that close. Right now you're Bill Wallace, but you'd be William Wallace if you could do what?
I open up a little bit more of the different categories.
Okay. Great. What are you really good at?
Everything.
That's what I thought. What's the one thing, you're good at everything, but what's the one thing you could be just a little bit better at?
Communication.
Communication? So tell me more when you say that. Talking less, more?
By talking more, expressing what I need people to do.
Okay, good, good. What do people wish you wouldn't do? What's the one thing they wish you wouldn't do?
Get irritated.
Do you get irritated sometimes? Okay, good stuff. And for you, I would be a great leader if,
Like you said, take things personally, take criticism better.
okay, fair enough. All right, so our daily huddle, this is the last piece I want to leave you with. Why do we get in a huddle? Main reason is so we all know what? We all run the same play. Why'd you go in the huddle? So we all run the same play. So here's what I do is, number one, I want to keep this daily huddle fast with my team. It's really fast. Scott, you have yours Mondays, is that right?
Yeah.
Is that, or do you still have a once a week meeting, quick meeting, or
Mondays and Wednesdays.
Mondays, Wednesdays? So they're fast, no more than 15 minutes. Ask somebody to watch the clock for you. In this case, will you watch the clock for me? And when we get to 14 minutes, raise your hand. Okay? So I've got that. Number one is, what are you thankful for? Scott, what are you thankful for?
Then it's Friday.
It's Friday. What are you doing this weekend?
Digging some grass out so I can put the above ground pool in.
Okay. Trent, in your case, we're going to pretend that it's Friday, which it is already. But what's your number one goal? What do you want to accomplish this week? What's your number one goal? And I'm referring to at work. And maybe we use next week. So Monday's going to roll around. What do you need to get done next week? What's your number one goal?
Be a day ahead.
Be a day ahead. And let me ask you this. What's your biggest obstacle in reaching that? What's the one thing that's going to keep you from being a day ahead? Because obviously you got 4th of July, right? People are going to start slowing down, I heard, on the 3rd. Well, shoot, some people aren't going to work on Friday. So you got a big challenge, right? So the good thing, just as us having this huddle, you're like, oh, I wonder if some people are going to take Thursday off. Could, I don't know. So what's your biggest obstacle in being a day ahead?
Biggest obstacle is I don't know. I guess it would be our customer being a day ahead. Because I can't do it without them.
Okay, so keeping your, and let me just ask you, why do you need to be a day ahead? Is there a particular reason?
Because they're closed on Friday.
Okay, going to be closed on Friday. Okay, how can I help you reach that goal? How can I help you with your customers? Now, I'm not going to have him answer that question, but you need to ask your employees what their biggest challenge is, because I'm going to come back now. Let's pretend it's Friday. Were you a day ahead? Now, this is where your coaching and training goes, because you'll say, let's just say, no, I wasn't. Well, what happened? Because you didn't need any help. Or in this case, we helped you. You and I kind of just worked through. Not only are they going to be closed on Friday, they're probably going to be closed on Thursday as well. They're going to be Checkout Charlie. Do you think your employees will be Checkout Charlie next week? By God, not if I'm in charge. So this is something you want to talk to them about on Monday. Hey guys, I know it's a holiday week. So how do we remind our customers to keep a day ahead? What can we do to remind them? Every morning you should wake up and ask the question, how can I help Ben reach his goal of, we don't know what Ben's goal is, but we got to figure that out. How can I help Aiden reach his goal of, so first thing you're going to have to ask them is, what's their goal? What is their goal? So as you guys depart, what action will you take today? Because remember, training without implementation is entertainment. Remember I talked about Maximus, Gladiator? Are you not entertained? I hope not. I hope you're educated and you'll take action. Are you going to motivate with the disc? Are you going to lay out clear expectations? Are you going to grade your team? Do you have a recruiting plan in place? How do you recruit? Are you going to use the daily huddle? Are you going to listen for what's not being said? Oh, they're good. They're good. Well, I'm sort of frustrated. Who will watch my blind side? Who's going to watch your blind side? Who's going to tell you the things you don't want to hear? What was the one I shared with you today that was a secret? Do you remember that? Yeah, that I shared with the whole class. It was about you, though. Do you remember the secret? What was the secret? Oh, yeah. Who's going to watch your blind side? And the last one is, do you have a flow chart so everybody in your circle knows the chain of command? All right? All right, what's going to be your action step? And typically, guess what that's code for?
I don't know.
Scott, what do you think that's code for? Haven't come up with one yet. Probably not gonna do much. What's yours?
And then do the clear expectations.
Clear expectations. Good. Your action step.
Mentor more, I guess.
Mentor more.
The skills, just keep giving him the skills he needs to be successful.
Okay. So I might challenge you to ask him, how do you want to be mentored? Because I know how you want to be mentored, right? I mean, I don't know that, but I know in your head, you know how you want to be mentored and how you're going to mentor. What's your action step?
Ask how they want to be managed.
Yeah. I think that's a great tool because guess how we manage? Whatever your picture looks like, that's how we manage. That's how we manage. Hey, great working with you guys today. I know you want to get the heck out of here. Thanks to everybody at home. And remember, take action. One thing today, take action and do it. You'll be amazed.